Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today. Welcome to the StorageDNA and Spectra webinar for channel partners on LTO migration made easy. Today we're joined with TC, CEO of StorageDNA, Jeff Kruger, the VP of Global Sales at StorageDNA, and Chris May, the M&E Business Development Manager at Spectra Log. We're going to kick this off here in just a second. Some housekeeping items. Please make sure that you enter any questions that you have in the control panel, and we'll review those at the end of the presentation. We are recording the webinar, and we'll send that out to you afterward for review. You'll also notice that we have a handout docked in the control panel, and that's a case study with Spectra and StorageDNA at the Sportsman channel. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass this off to TC.
Hey, Katie, thank you. Thank you for everybody who's dialed in. And also, I'd like to thank Spectra Log for helping us put this all together. What we're going to be talking about today is the LTO Smart Migration Bundles. A quick agenda. I'm going to introduce to you guys, some of you guys are already existing channel partners of StorageDNA. Some of you are not. I'm going to give you guys a very quick introduction of who we are and our flagship product, DNAevolution. Then I'll dive right into smart migration, overview of how it works, and we'll go into the bundle details. So to get started, StorageDNA, we're headquartered in Irvine, California, and we are a data management software solution providing company, and we focus largely on the media and entertainment space. So rather than focusing on IT with M&E as a secondary focus, we're very much focused on M&E as a primary. We have a worldwide channel of partners, and we've been pretty successful over the past few years. We have over 600 deployments. I would say about 90 plus in the Avid Interplay space, about 60 plus in CatDV. We have pretty specialized technology that can integrate to Avid and Adobe outside of a MAM environment as well. We have a number of installs in that area. We've got a lot of experience integrating with every customer SAN or NAS out there, from a Nexus to the Isilons to Edit Shares, pretty much all of them. And our install sizes are pretty varied too. At the low end, it's about 500 TB. We have large broadcast clients who have deployed over 20 petabytes of data managed with our product as well. A little bit about what our core technology is. It's a DNAevolution, which is essentially a software-based data archive platform. I'll zoom in because it'll make it a little bit easier to see. At its core, we are a data mover and a data archive engine. We pride ourselves in the flexibility of being able to tie into pretty much any customer storage that they have. So this could be a Nexus and Isilon. And on the other side, once again, we can pretty much tie into any LTO library, for example, a Spectra Stack. So the DNAevolution platform can move data from disk to tape, tape back to disk. At its core, one of the key elements of what our platform does very, very well is extract metadata into a XML database, which means that we have a lot of flexibility in giving the end user search tools across their data. The second key highlight, I would say, of Evolution is our flexibility in enabling the user managed folders, workspaces, or something more intelligent. For example, a lot of our clients set up automated watch folders on their large SANs and NASs, their nearline storage, and we can automatically back up their data to LTO tape. Or we have built-in Avid Adobe Project Intelligence, so you can be backing up and restoring at a project level. And finally, we also integrate to simple AF, XML, ALE exports for both archiving and restoring data, right? So at a very high level, I wanted to give you guys just a very quick overview of DNAevolution and StorageDNA before I dive into smart migration and the smart migration bundles. So at a very, very high level, what exactly is the smart migration bundle that we put together? Well, what we wanted to do with the smart migration bundle is take, what we're very good at, which is the software that manages your data, to and from LTO tape, and we wanted to partner with best of breed hardware, right? And in this case, it's Spectra Logic with their latest Spectra Stack library. And that's really what the Smart Migration Bundle is all about, is taking best of breed archive software with a special LTO migration engine, which I'll cover next, paired with best of breed hardware. Now, in terms of the Smart Migration Bundle, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background of why we've put this together, what is the industry need, and frankly, why should customers really care about this bundle? So we started chatting with a lot of our customers, and there's a common theme out there today that we have numerous customers that are dealing with very large quantities of LTO-5 and 6 tapes. So these could be existing StorageDNA customers, it could be Spectra customers, or it could be a completely different customer that's probably got a large stash of LTO-5 and 6 tapes accumulated over the years simply by tapes being delivered from the field. But the major challenge that they're facing is with LTO-8, as you're already aware, that these tapes have already become unreadable and obviously unwritable as well. And there's sort of this brewing nervousness, right, to migrate this data, right? So customers are sitting back and saying, I have 5 and 6 tapes, and I'm looking to pull this data out. And if I'm going to pull it out, the customers are looking for options. Some are considering LTO-8, which is the obvious next step. But some are looking into and saying, hey, maybe it's time I should look at low-cost disk storage, or for that matter, I should look at cloud or object, for example, a Black Pearl convert storage system to move my data to. Now, what we wanted to also realize, what we realized talking to the clients, is that yes, there's a need to do the migration, but they have some major concerns. One major concern was, yes, we have all these 5 and 6 tapes. Yes, we know we need to migrate it, but we haven't been able to get a move on it because we need this to be automated, and we can't throw manpower at the operation. I mean, somebody sitting there with one tape in one drive trying to restore it, is not going to work. So automation is a key element that a lot of clients are looking for. The second one, which was really interesting, was that they wanted to be able to rent LTO-6 drives. And here's the reason why. A lot of clients have an existing LTO infrastructure that is pretty much maxed out for backup, restores, and archives, right? So they don't really have hardware to spare for pure migration. However, at the same time, it's kind of not justifiable to go and buy LTO-6 hardware just to do a migration. So what a lot of clients said is, hey, if we can rent the LTO-6 drive, that would be great. So that's another element you'll see that is built into the Smart Migration Bundle, thanks to Spectra Logic. And the last bit was also, we needed this to be fast, right? I mean, I wanted to be, customer said, I should be able to use multiple LTO-6 drives to pull my data out as quickly as possible, right? So the Smart Migration Bundle is really, a solution that we put together, after we tried to really understand what the end users were attempting to do, right? So how does it exactly work? So this is kind of a high-level data workflow diagram. I know it's kind of small, so I'm going to zoom into different aspects of it and walk you through how a migration process would look like. So step one, what you can imagine is loading up your existing LTO-5 and 6 tapes into your LTO-6 drive partition of a Spectra Stack library. So the idea is you have a lot of these tapes sitting there. Based on how big your Spectra Stack is, you would have one partition dedicated to LTO-5 and 6 tapes, and you would pack that partition with these 5 and 6 tapes, right? So that's sort of step one. One of the things I want to point out is this migration is designed for LTFS archives. If you have archives that are not LTFS, that are probably tar or proprietary, we can still deal with it, but that's more so on a case-by-case basis. So what I would recommend is you contact us, and we can talk about what kind of archives you have. But the idea is that this works out of the box for any LTFS-based archive. Could have been created by any software that wrote LTFS tapes. So going back to the workflow, step one, load up your tapes into your library. The first thing DNAevolution does as part of the migration process is that it indexes all the data on your LTO-5 and 6 tapes. Now, this is great because a lot of our clients came back and said that, yes, we had all these tapes delivered to us, but we actually have no idea what's on them anymore. So the first thing Evolution does is catalogs all your data in its database, and through a web interface, it gives you a nice searchable database. Now, one of the interesting things I want to point out is this database is not only searchable through a web interface. However, this database can also be queried using ALEs and EDLs from your post-production editorial management software. So from an Avid Media Composer or an Adobe Premiere system, you can actually export an EDL and ALE, and you can query the data on these tapes. So the first thing Evolution does is builds a very rich catalog of what's on these tapes. In the next step, Evolution can start to restore or copy the data out. Now, this is where we're giving the end users a number of options as to where the data can be pulled out to. One option is the client's existing disk. However, a lot of clients have expressed that, yes, we don't have disk storage where we can put all this data. So the next option is obviously a Black Pearl NAS, which is a very cost-effective storage target that you can go to. And the third option is public cloud as well. So we are working with Backblaze on this. But the idea is that we want to give the end user a lot of options on where they pull their data out. One of the other key highlights is that you can use multiple parallel drives to do this process, right? So the data can be pulled out using 3 drives, 4 drives, 5 drives, and going out to your target storage. As long as your target storage can sustain the bandwidth of those multiple drives, you can be pulling data out in a fully automated manner, right? Now, for a lot of clients, their migration process would stop right here once they've pulled their data out to a disk or cloud or object-based storage. But we do have an optional rearchive to an LTO-8 partition. So in this final step, the data can be re-archived to LTO-8 tape. And in the case of this example, it could just be another partition in your Spectra Stack library, right? So our idea is very simple, is you kind of come in, you have the LTO-8 partition, and you re-archive your data to the LTO-8 partition of your Spectra Stack library. So that's just a very simple, step-by-step workflow. We will be sending out a white paper that highlights the step-by-step workflow, after the presentation. So I'm going to open up the bundle details really quick. At a very high level, the bundle includes the DNAevolution software preloaded onto an HP DL360 server, and all of that included, packaged together, is $15,000. The Spectra Stack is populated with 2 SAS LTO-8 drives. It comes licensed for 80 slots, and that is $20,000. This also includes the LTO-6 drive loaners from Spectra Log. So what we want to highlight is for about $35,000, you're able to provide your customers about a petabyte of LTO storage, server, and software that is ready to archive their new data and also start migrating their existing archives, which we feel is a massive, massive challenge and problem that a lot of clients out there are facing. These are some of the details in what's included in the server and the software. Jeff, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, just to highlight that, guys, think about that. $35,000, you're almost getting a petabyte. There's plenty of margin in there. This is bundled between Spectra and StorageDNA. So everyone on the call is a Spectra Logic reseller as well as a StorageDNA reseller. So both POs would be going to Spectra and to StorageDNA combined, but this is a bundle that we're allowing you to go out. It's what we're calling a customer appreciation program. but we'll allow this for new customers as well. So, feel free to register those deals through your normal Spectra Logic registration process, as well as StorageDNA's registration process.
Cool. That's pretty much all I had. I'm going to pass the slides and the control back to Chris. So just give me a second. All right, Chris, should be all yours.
All right, do you guys see me? Spectra Logic?
Hey, Chris, you need to share your screen.
Oh, sorry about that, folks. That's the one thing I didn't do. It's not allowing me to. I apologize.
So you should be able to go up to the control panel up on the left side.
Yeah, it's not letting me. It's not highlighting. I apologize. Am I the presenter? Is it?
Yep, you're on there as the presenter. All right.
Shoot, here. All right, there we go. I had to change it myself to make me.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay,
now.
Great. Sorry about that, folks. I for some reason it. So thank you all for taking time out of your busy day. As you all probably know us very well, but those who don't, we are a nearly 40-year-old company that's privately held based out of Boulder, Colorado. We have about 450 employees in 11 countries, and we have about 20,000 libraries installed worldwide. What you're seeing there is our corporate office, and it's in Boulder, Colorado. We also have our support, manufacturing, and shipping based out of Boulder, Colorado. So when you make a phone call at 1 in the morning to put in a service ticket, or you're having an issue with the library, these are the people you're going to be talking to. You'll be talking to somebody in Boulder, Colorado. So to throw back to what TC was talking about, what we're in the Spectra tape library, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. We came out with this probably February of last year. And what we really like about this library is it's super simple, it's scalable, and it's minimal investment. And it also grows as you grow. It ranges in choices of the drives. You could do half height, full height drives, partitioning, encryptioning, software integration, and once again, the great support. Also, by the end of the year, we should also have our media life management software in there as well. And as we talked about, and as you all are very well aware of, I mean, super inexpensive. We're talking pennies on the gig. So it's extremely affordable, extremely reliable, and it's a great piece of hardware. So as we talked about, it can grow, you can start at 10 slots, and you can grow up to 560 slots in a 42 RU rack. You can start out with 1 drive and go to 42 LTO-8 drives in a single library. And the other great thing about this box is when you want to add an expansion chassis, you essentially put it on, screw it on, and the robot will already start recognizing the new expansion chassis and start working off of that. The other thing, it's super simple to manage and maintain. It's super simple to install, scale, super simple to service. We have a little teller touch screen where you can use that with the wizard installation configuration, or you can use the install on your computer. And it has all our feature sets, or most of our feature sets that you find in all of our other libraries. So it's scalability. You have your main module, 10 to 80 slots as we looked at. You can enable 10 slots at a time. You could put 6 half height drives in there or 3 full height drives. And you can expand the additional slots with those drives. And it can go up to 7 modules and 42 racks. And once again, as we alluded to earlier, you can get in one module close to 1 petabyte, but if you did a whole rack, you can get up to 4.6 petabytes with LTO-8, and then with the 42 drives, you can get up to 12.6 gigs per second with the LTO drives. The other things, as you guys are aware of, is we also have NAS, both SAS and SATA, which is great for within this process if you need a landing zone. So content's coming from your current HP library migrating, and you need a landing zone for that. So StorageDNA can migrate if we're talking in a proprietary manner of that content, or you just need some sort of parking lot storage on the front end. This is great, super cheap. We're talking about 10 cents a gig, and it scales from 44 terabytes to 10.7 petabytes. The other things, as you all are aware of, that we do, this could also be a target on the back end as well. So if you're looking for some sort of disk storage, we could help with that as well. But you all are well aware of our products of object-based disk, Black Pearl, all our tape libraries, which start at the stack and can go up all the way to a TFIN that could hold 1.5 exabytes worth of data. Also, what we've done is we've bundled some NAS as part of this promotion. We have 4 different bundles. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your sales rep within your area and ask them about these bundles. And the other thing that I'd like to make you all aware of in the channel is that we have some spiffs going on with Black Pearl NAS through the end of the year. So for more information, reach out to broadcast@spectralogic.com and sales@storagedna.com. So I open it up to any questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. It looks like we don't have any questions that came through. If you guys have any, go ahead and enter those into the GoToWebinar control panel. Again, we did record the session, and we'll send this out for review within the next day. All right. So we got a question from Zeke. What is the performance of migration of LTO-6 to LTO-8?
I can take that one.
Okay.
It's going to come down to how much hardware you throw at the problem. So the migration engine is, in this case, is not doing a drive-to-drive migration. It's doing a drive-to-disk-to-drive migration. So what I mean is you can come in and say, I want to throw 4 LTO-6 drives at the problem. So these 4 LTO-6 drives are going to be in parallel reading data to your disk storage, and on the other end you could have 2 LTO-8 drives that this data is being routed to. So it's really, traditionally we've proposed a drive-to-drive migration, and we obviously start hitting severe limits on performance, and also we need to start matching drives. But in this case, by putting disk in the middle, we're able to get faster reads, and you don't have to have the same number of drives at both ends. So the answer really comes down to how many drives you're throwing at the problem.
Okay. And Zeke did elaborate. He said assuming a full LTO tape. That's what he was asking in regards for performance.
Yeah, so it's going to, one of the things that we'll be sending out, Zeke, is a migration calculator where you, in an Excel sheet, you can put in the number of 5 and 6 tapes you have, the number of drives you have, and it'll tell you how long it'll take to do the migration. But that said, in this entire pipeline, you are bandwidth limited by the read speed of a LTO, 5 or 6 drive. So, we're talking about, I would say in a realistic world, about, 80 to 90, maybe 100 megabytes per second of throughput for LTO-5 or 6. And if you're talking about a 2.5 terabyte tape, we're going to talk about 2.5 terabytes to move at about 100 megabytes per second. I'm going to have to do that math, but I can send that to your email. So.
Okay. And then he asked if the process is to unpack an LTO-6 to disk and then re-archive to LTO-8. We wanted
Yeah.
to see what that workflow looks like.
Yeah, so that's basically what we are proposing going forward is that we would read the data out to disk and then re-archive to 8. And once again, the bottleneck there is going to be the LTO-6 drive reading the tape because LTO-8's throughput is double that of LTO-6. So once again, if you're going drive to drive, but in this case, LTO-6 to disk. It would still be the amount of time it takes to actually read data off of the tape from the LTO-6 because you could in parallel be writing to the 8 as data is being restored. Does that kind of make sense?
That's good. Okay, we actually just got quite a few more questions. So we have a question on how many slots are enabled in the 20K bundle, and is Spectra support included in that?
I'll take that. We're licensing all 80 slots within this, and no, the support isn't included in this price. And the support's pretty negligible. It's next business day. But as we were talking to earlier, these things are so simple to install. It really is something that you guys can do yourself, and we're happy to allow you to install these libraries. And whatever PS that comes along with that. So.
Perfect. Okay. Another question. On step 3 for StorageDNA, can we simultaneously write out to LTO-8 so that existing disk can effectively be a buffer and not require a completely massive disk system to hold all of the data off of the 5 and 6 generation tape?
Yep, absolutely. So you don't need you could build your cache out to be 20, 30 terabytes, and you're just using that as a as a rotating cycling buffer. So yes, the answer is yes.
Correct. Okay, and then another question, Spectra support in Europe, is that in European hours? And that is, yeah. Let's see. So we have an elaboration on the previous question. So we're talking about the step 3 for StorageDNA. If so, if the user, is that a user-driven process to manage the available disk space for that migration?
Are you talking about, if you're talking about that data needs to be automatically deleted after it's re-archived to LTO-8, that's something that can also be accommodated via StorageDNA. So we can quarantine the data or delete it after it's been moved to LTO-8. So that can also be automated.
Perfect. All right, next question. Are non-LTFS migrations from 5 or 6 supported, tar, etc.?
Yeah, that's going to be on a case-by-case basis. We're not outright saying no, but at the same time, we're going to have to look at the exact tape, probably get a sample from the end user and make sure we can do this. Because even if they say tar, the application that wrote the data needs to provide the tar parameters so we can read the data out. So we're not saying guaranteed it can be done, but we are open to, we're open to those projects. Let me put it that way.
Okay, perfect. Is the re-archive to spinning disk controlled by DNAevolution and maintained in the StorageDNA database for the later restore?
Yes, it is. So it can be restored later. One of the key points is that once we've cataloged your 5 and 6 tapes, you can use restores off of the 5 and 6 as well. And obviously, as you re-archive to LTO-8, you'll be able to restore from the LTO-8 as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, here's another quick question. Where are hardware spares supplied from?
That's a question
Chris,
for
you want to take that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Katie. What is the what? We're supplied from?
Where are hardware spares supplied from?
It depends on where you're located, but we have depots across the world. So if you're in Europe and you need some sort of part, it's readily accessible from a depot there, and throughout the United States.
Perfect. Okay, another question. If a client has both SDNA and Black Pearl with Spectra Stack, what application do they use to archive and restore on a day-to-day basis?
I can sort of take that. So one of the things, obviously, is we are proposing the migration, but beyond the migration, you could use StorageDNA and Black Pearl in any Avid environment, Interplay or non-Interplay. You can use it to be doing Avid project archiving. We can also be supporting Adobe projects as well. One of the key elements I didn't really get to highlight is DNAevolution's capability to do restores via EDLs and ALEs as well. And finally, you can just set up very large-scale backups and archives of your NAS and SANs, right? So one common workflow is I have terabytes of data pouring in to my nearline storage, which could be your Black Pearl NAS. You are doing ingests from it, but at the same time, you want all these camera masters archived off to LTO tape. So, I would say anything from camera masters to project-based archiving and supporting your migration can all be done with this combination of hardware and software.
Perfect. Okay, and this looks like the final question. What is the relationship between StorageDNA and Spectra?
We love each other, but
we have, as you guys are well aware of, we have multiple customers together. How many years has the relationship been?
Been over 5, maybe close to 10. Maybe.
Yeah. A bunch of customer installs, a bunch of happy customers, and
I'd like to point out that both of our plus 30 petabyte installs are Spectra Logic. So our largest deployments are with the 950s with the add-on chassis. So we have numerous deployments and a lot of happy customers. So.
And once again, our Spectra mantra is we always want to do what's best by the customer, and whatever that combination of vendors is to do what's best for the customer, Spectra Logic is very vested in that.
Awesome. And we did just get one more question. Is there any charge for out-of-library tapes?
No, there's not.
No, neither from StorageDNA nor from Spectra Logic.
Excellent.
We actually encourage you to do that because once again, that's the safest way to protect from being hacked is air between your tape and the library, and it's also for disaster recovery. And why should we want to penalize you and charge you for that?
Perfect. All right. Thanks, guys. Looks like we are good on questions. Again, if you guys need any more information, you can reach out to both Spectra Logic and StorageDNA. Spectra's email address is broadcast@spectralogic.com, and StorageDNA can be reached at sales@storagedna.com. We'll be sending out a recording of the webinar, and we appreciate your partnership.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and thank you, TC and Jeff. Thank you, everybody.